In this video, we're going to write our first HTML code. But first, let's talk about the tools you'll need to write the code itself. Now, the first tool you'll need is a text editor. I use ActiveState's Komodo editor. This is a free editor that's available online. You can actually go to the website and get this editor if you open your web browser and go to www.activestate.com/komodo-edit. Then you just need to download Komodo Edit. Be careful because there's a paid version as well. You only need the free version for this course. The paid version has nothing that we would use for this course. So go ahead and get the free version of this really, really good editor. So that's Komodo Edit from ActiveState. Highly recommended. Now, if you don't want to use Komodo Edit, you could also use another editor. For example, if you're using a Mac, maybe BB Edit or Text Wrangler. If you're using a PC, you can even use Notepad. What I would warn you against is using a word processor like Microsoft Word. The reason for that is that word processors actually add proprietary formatting code that the browser would misinterpret when you load your web page. So don't do that. All right, so once you have your copy of Komodo Edit, you can write your page. Now, the other thing that I recommend is having a couple of different browsers on hand. This is Safari from Apple. That's available for the PC and the Mac. This is Firefox that I've got here. So I've got two different browsers. And if you have a PC, you're probably going to want to get Internet Explorer. You're probably going to want to get a copy of Safari from Google because you're going to want to test your pages in a number of different browsers. And that's because browsers can interpret the HTML code just a little bit differently. All right, so if you're using Komodo Edit, you're going to go ahead and we're going to create a new file. Now, we can do that by clicking File and then New, and that's hard to see because of exactly how the capture is positioned here. But you can click File and New File, or just click the button for a new file. We just want a blank file to start with. So there we go. That's blank. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to immediately save this. So I'm going to click Save As. And when I save this, first of all, I'm going to find the folder I want to save it in, and I have my folder already set for this particular chapter. So this is the HTML course, Chapter 1. And I'm going to simply save this as helloworld.html. Now, your HTML files have to end in .htm or .html. I recommend using .html. .htm is an older way of doing it when computers could only handle three-letter file extensions. But now, since most machines can handle almost any length file extension, let's go with .html. That tells the computer this is an HTML file that can be interpreted in the browser. So what I'm going to do first is create a basic document structure. Now, I'm not using any particular version of HTML here. I know in the previous video I talked about HTML 4.01, XHTML, and HTML5. We're not doing anything specific to those versions. I'll talk about those versions in the next couple of videos, but this is just kind of a general HTML file. So we're going to start with a basic document structure. Every HTML file starts and ends with HTML tags. This basically says to the browser when it reads the file, hey, this is an HTML file, and this closing tag says that the HTML file is now complete. Now, be aware that these are tags, and tags come in two flavors, opening and closing. Closing tags are preceded with a slash. Now, HTML documents actually have two sections, the head and the body. The head section, which will open and close without putting anything in it right now, contains information about the website itself and information that's called meta information. It doesn't actually display in the browser window. Then we have the body, and most of your content will go in the body. This is where anything that appears in the actual browser window is put. All right, so we have our document structure partially. So now, in the head, I'm going to put a title. Now notice my head element opens here and closes here. So I'm going to put the title within it. So HTML is just we put these tags within other tags. Got to be careful to spell everything correctly. So we'll call this Hello World from HTML. And I'll close the title tag just like that. Now here in the body section is where we're going to put the content. So we've got the title. Now the title appears in the browser window, either the tab or in the title bar. It's used if someone bookmarks your site that's saved under that title. It's used by search engines to index your site. So it's important to have a title. That always goes in the head. But now we want this content to be displayed in the document window, so that's going to go in the body. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a paragraph tag here. And inside the paragraph tag, I'm going to say hello world. So we've got our opening HTML tag, our opening head tag. We have our title element here, which includes the opening tag, this hello world from HTML content, and the closing title tag. Remember, that's going to appear in the title bar or the tab, depending on what browser you're using. We close the head section and go to the body section. The body section opens on line 5, closes on line 7. And there we've got the hello world element, which is an opening paragraph tag, a closing paragraph tag, and then the text we actually want to be displayed. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And this is, of course, saved as helloworld.html. And now we're going to load it into a browser. So let me get Safari here. And in the browser, I can hit Command or Control-O or File and Open. And we get the open dialog box. Works the same way on the PC. So I'm going to navigate to where I saved the file in my operating system. So we saved it here. And there's the helloworld.html file. I'm going to click Open. That's going to load in the browser. And there is the content, hello world, that I put in the actual code. So if you look at the code again, there's the paragraph tag and the content hello world and the exclamation point. And that's exactly what's being displayed here in the browser window. Now, if I wanted to add to this hello world from learn to program.tv, I'm going to save again. And I'm simply going to refresh the browser. It's now going to reflect that new content. So that's doing hello world in HTML, or your very first HTML page.